Recording in progress.
Yud, towards the bottom of the page, the 6th page of the copies, we were talking about that the question that the Rebbe said, how is it that we look at the Zechor Hashem Mahoya Lonu? We're trying to evoke Hashem's mercy and compassion and Achmanas on us and what's going on in Golus, and instead we are speaking about things that seem to be negative, the things that are Cherpaseinu, our shame, or Almanusayich, that we are like an Almana. We're not even a very subtle way of Almana, meaning missing the 100, meaning not having the Chamishim Shari Bina, going from below to above and above to below, the 2 levels, 2 times 50, 100. So how do we go ahead and we're presenting this to the Eibishter when seemingly we're asking for Hashem to have Rachmanas on us? So he started explaining that we're not trying to emphasize our chisaron, our lack, our deficiency, but we're trying to emphasize that this idea that we're lacking in our ma. We have the ma of l'umma, where we're trying to show off our bittul, like the story with the Baal Shem Tov, that he was telling the people that were very excited and very prideful about the Chidushi Torah, that we're trying to explain that this is what Hashem set into the system. Hashem put it into us, that there is a seder this way, that a person first begins to learn Torah Shaloi Lishma, and then he starts learning Lishma. And then he brings from the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, that the same thing, that till you come to serve Mi'ava, out of a love of Hashem, totally Lishma, there are different stages and different levels that not immediately does a person start with serving Hashem out of Ava. So now we're going to give another example of what the Alter Rebbe speaks about in the Igeres HaKodesh. In the Igeres HaKodesh, the Alter Rebbe speaks about the different types of levels of a person, actually in the Kuntas Achron, concerning the idea of a person learning Shaloi Lishma. What happens with that limud, that only through Ava V'yira, which is the opposite of Loi Lishma, so that becomes Gadfim, that becomes wings, that Parchin La'ela, that it cause the Torah to go upwards. If the other way around, if a person is learning Shaloi Lishma, they're missing that. But the Alter Rebbe says an interesting thing. He speaks about the Hevel Pian Shel Tenok Shel Beis Rabba, that it says about the breath of the mouth of the children in yeshiva. Let's see inside what the Rebbe is going to bring from that. So we're holding on the bottom of the 6th page of the Maimer, line 27, page Yud. Until that we read that Alter Rebbe explains concerning the breath of the mouth of the children in yeshiva, in other words, cheder children, it's a type of breath that has no sin in it. And because it has no sin in it, so therefore it has a very special quality, the Torah that he learns. Now the question, so the Alter Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe says, even if their Torah study is totally not for the sake of heaven, why are they learning? Because they're scared of the belt that's the hand of the teacher. In other words, they're scared of the consequences if they won't learn. So therefore, it's totally not lishma. Still in all, Hare continues to the next page, page Yud Aleph, Husalach La'ela. This goes up above the Hevel Tenoikes Shel Beis Rabban, because they are Hevel Shein Bechet, because it's a breath that has no sin, it goes above. Now, in the going above, we know that Alter Rebbe speaks about in Tanya different levels of how our mitzvahs are nis'ala l'mayla, depending what type of avaviyira we have. If we have a certain level of avaviyira, it can go up all the way to the world of bria, lesser avaviyira to the world of yitzira. So the question is, when we say that Alter Rebbe brings down that hevel to Neukeshel Beis Rabban, that they're learning Shaloi Lishma, what level does it go up to? So the Rebbe says in the bracket, in the parentheses, Loi rak miklot me'oil ma'asiyah chumri v'agashmi. L'oil ma'asiyah ruchni not only does the breadth of children's learning Torah go up from the physical world, from the mystical world, to the spiritual world of Asiyah, because there is both the physical, tangible world of Asiyah, and then there's the Olam Asiyah Ruchnis. So we might think that since there's no Avaviyira, etc., it can't go up to Yitzira or Bria. It can only, at the most, if we're saying it's Olam Lamayla, it goes from the physical world of Asiyah to the spiritual world of Asiyah. But the Rebbe says not that way. The Rebbe brings in the Alter Rebbe. El Shemalachim Mailim Ha'evel Ha'Shaltenoich Shbeis Rabban Ad Atzilus. That the Malachim are able to bring up the breath of the Shiva children all the way to the world of Atzilus. So therefore, what do we see again? We see that it's instituted in the world that there's going to be a state where there won't be bittul. That's the way the world was instituted. So, and therefore, the Rebbe is going to say, by extension as well, all the matters of Golus are things that are like instituted in a way where it's like it's something that Hashem put into the system. He says in line 4, in a similar vein concerning all the things that are connected with Golus. That Hashem Kaviyachal put it into place, and therefore, what are we coming to tinus with us? Concerning all the things that bring about and result in Golus. It says, remember Hashem, what happened to us? Where do we see that it's like Hashem, in a way, almost like takes responsibility for it? So it says, that Hashem says about it that I did bad. It says a pasuk in Micha, he says on the right side of the page in the Biur, it says, Bayom Ahu Ne'um Hashem, and that day, it says Hashem, Iswa Atzlea V'anidocha Kabtza V'asher Harayosi V'samtis Atlea L'Sheiris V'nachla L'Goyotzim. It says that I will take the Yidden essentially that are scattered, that I did bad. In other words, that Hashem acknowledges that the whole idea of Golus, and by extension, the things that lead to Golus, are things that Hashem calls that he did bad for it. And to such a degree, to such a degree that Hashem says he regrets it. The Medrash brings down that there's 4 things, or Gemara brings down, there's 4 things that Hashem regrets. One of them is Golus, another thing is certain nations, and another thing is the Yetzer Hara. So we see that Hashem regrets Golus. The fact that Hashem regrets Golus, this means that again, this is something that Hashem like put in place, and Hashem is like taking responsibility for it. So this is the point of our saying, Zechor Hashem Mahaya Lanu, to say about this negative that we are emphasizing this point that Hashem is Kaviyachol responsible for this. But ultimately, if Hashem did this got to be the positive component to it. So he says in line 8, second paragraph, Amnam, close, hakavana b'yiridus hagolus. The general intention in the descent of Golus is kedei shayidei tialach rizeh aliyah by f'nayli yoser. So it should be after this a much greater ascent, as the Rebbe always speaks about Yerida Tzorech Aliyah. That means it has to be a greater ascent than it was before the going into Golus. Now the Rebbe says, the Rebbe always likes to bring proofs, logical proofs why it has to be that way. So the Rebbe brings another interesting proof over here. Why are we forced to say that the descent into Golus is for the sake of a greater ascent? Like it's also understood from the fact the Torah is a Torah of kindness, that all matters are done in a way of kindness. So therefore, first of all, the kindness is that the investment of the Yerida is for the sake of gaining from it. It's not just something that we lose out by it. But another point is, like he's going to explain soon, that Hashem's chesed is where he didn't make us be completely and totally immersed in the far-flung type of golus. So he says in line 12, it's like it's brought down in many places. Through the general idea of golus. In other words, you don't need to go every single yid into the same pinam nedachas. One of you goes into exile to a place called Barbaria. Another one of you goes to Samatia. That becomes the refining of the sparks that are found in all those places. All you need is one representative, a yid over there. That's enough, and the rest of the yidden don't have to go into some far-flung place. Behind this means in Agolas, b'chdei lahal is gam darga chitachtoina. What's the idea of Golas is to elevate even the most lowest level. So just like Golas is to reach to the most far-flung place, the same thing now in our internal Golas as well. There's also the idea of the Yerida within ourselves. That's for the sake of Aliyah. So he says in line 17, Valderes have been a Gelam Amodim, what some shall b'nei Yisrael, in a similar vein concerning the state and situation of Yidden, Davkai de Avedosu B'Yeridas HaGolus, only through their avoid and their descent and Golus, Shegodlam Allah B'Yoser, that their advantage and quality is very great. The avoida of Yidden and Golus is a very high avoida. Where do we see that's a very high avoida? Like it's known, the explanation, what it says, that Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble person from every person on the face of the earth. So it's brought down in Chassidus. Who was he humble before? She'inyan zeh. Who afilu va'adrabe befrat legabador dikv'dim shicha. This humility that Moshe Rabbeinu had was even before the generation of the heels of Mashiach, and not only even, also, but it was specifically Moshe Rabbeinu felt humility when he saw B'nevuasa, he saw all the generations, and he saw the generation of the heels of Mashiach. So that was caused by Moshe Rabbeinu the true humility. Because the avoid of Yidden is in a way of self-sacrifice. So that self-sacrifice of the Yidden at the end of the time of Golus was something that Moshe Rabbeinu felt humble, meaning that the Golus brings us to a state of avoida where we don't have that in the time before, in earlier generations. So in other words, the Golus is something that internally within us brings us to a higher level, not just externally the gathering of the Nitzoites. So they say, through the Golus, through the Mashiach, we come to the most highest level, like it's explained. Concerning the Pasuk, we say, it says, my father and mother deserted me, but Hashem gathers me. The Avi v'imi koyal chachmo bin. My father and mother is going on Chachma Bina, like we have at the beginning of Tanya, that Chachma is called the father and Bina is called the mother of the Midas. When there's a state and situation where my father and mother have deserted me, the intention and purpose is so that Hashem should gather me. This goes on the very essence that the essence of Hashem is bound up with the essence of the neshama. In other words, when we don't need avodah mesiras nefesh, so then our service for Hashem, especially in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, was using our intellect, and our intellect brought us to love of Hashem, etc. So our koiches pnimiyim were revealed. Then we didn't have to resort to mesiras nefesh. Then we didn't have the connection of our essence with Hashem's essence begoli. It was a connection of our emotions with Hashem's emotions. When we have Ava, Yira, we connect to Ches, the Gvura of Atzilus. When we use our Seichel, so we connect to the Chachma Bina of Atzilus. Davke, in a time when Avi v'imi azavuni, when our intellect has left us behind, when we're not serving Hashem mitzad Seichel, mitzad Tam v'das, we definitely don't have the midas and the emotions. So we're only serving Hashem because of our essence, because of Mesiras Nefesh. So that is a much greater level. So that's the Yerida, that's the Aliyah that follows the Yerida. That though goal is a very low thing, but we have the Aliyah of the connection of Hashem's essence with our essence. Top of the last page. Page Yud Beis, and this is what it says. Remember, Havai, what happened to us? Habito reis kepresenu. Look and see our embarrassment. And we had at the beginning of the Maimer a question. On the one hand, we're talking about remember Mahoyalonu in the negative, that we're worried about the Ma is missing, and in general, we're talking about a negative embarrassment. And then another thing is Cherpasenu from the word Mecharef Nafsham, that they totally give up their lives in Mesiras Nefesh, like the Baal Shem Tov says, for Avos Yisrael and Pidin Shvuyim. How do we fit together the two explanations, like it was explained earlier at length, is the intention that why do we have a deficiency in the level of Ma? Why is our Ma lacking? And then it starts with a very subtle lacking of the Ma. The Re'uma, beginning from the type of, like we said, the klippa of Ma of Atzilus, that he wants people to see, look at me, that I have Ma, and then it deteriorates and gets even worse. And still the level where they actually lose the Ma, that the shoita is someone that has the Ruach Shtuz. He is missing the Ma. He is missing that bittul of the essence of the neshama. And also the same way you have a deterioration. First it begins with just the spiritual lack of a very high level. He doesn't have the 100. Almana. He doesn't have 100 gates. He doesn't have the 50 complete gates going from below to above and 50 complete gates going from above to below. He has only 49 gates. He's like on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu until he passed away. From that eventually comes down until it becomes the literal idea of the embarrassment and shame of being an almana, that there's this separation of the husband, the wife of Hashem and Knesset Yisrael. What is the purpose of all that? It's only that through this we should be able to reach a much higher level. That's the revelation of the essence of the neshama that's connected with Hashem's essence. That is what we reach through the losing of the mind, through having the almana and the idea of cherpasenu. this connection of the essence of the neshama is connected with Atzmos is expressed in the avodah of ordinary, simple people. Metoich mesiras nefesh, out of self-sacrifice, that they throw away their lives, they have mesiras nefesh for the love of another yid, like the Baal Shem Tov said, the pshat in the pasuk when he was talking to the yidden over there that were involved in pidyon shvuyim, etc. And to note, line 13, last. I thought this was the last page. Sorry. Last paragraph on page Yud Beis. To note, Inyan Davis Yisrael, Kosherim Klolosa Inyan, Sheroitzim Lifo Pasuk Zchor Havai. The idea of Avos Yisrael, which we said the Baal Shem Tov spoke about this in connection with Avos Yisrael that Yidden have for each other, is connected with the general idea we're trying to affect with this pasuk Zechor Havaya. What are we davening? What are we saying by Zechor Havaya Mahoyalonu? We want to affect bittul close in the Golus. We want to nullify the general idea of Golus. Shadei Amr Chazal, the Chazal said, Achroinim Shloin is Gala Avoinam, Loin is Gala Kitzam. The latter ones, that their sin was not revealed, so their end of their Golus was not revealed. Meaning, those that went into Golus Bavel, the Golus of the first Beis HaMikdash, since their sin was revealed, what they were being punished for, Avodah Zarah and Gilei Arayis and Shfikas Damim, but mainly Avodah Zarah. So Hashem also said, you know what? You're going to be in Golus for 70 years. So Nizgala Avoinam and Nizgala Kitzah. But when it comes to the idea of our Golus, we weren't told when we're going to get out of Golus, and also it was not revealed by Hashem what is the Aveda that we went into Golus for. But on a deeper level, it's explained that the Nizgala Avoina means that in the first Beis HaMikdash, they covered over on, they didn't cover over on their sins. They were open about their sins. So they were open about their sins. Their end was foretold. In the latter generations, they covered over. They made themselves look pious. They made themselves look holy. And that's why they had the Golus go on so long. But the main thing is that the sin of why we're in Golus is because of lack of Avos Yisrael. Hainu, line 17, Shekol Inyan HaGolus u'beglal ha'hepech d'Avos Chinam, the entire idea of exile because of the opposite of love without any reason. They had the other thing without any reason. Move on for this understood Shabitl Inyan HaGolus, the idea Shemecharfim Nafshem B'Shal Avos Yisrael. This understood that nullifying the idea of Golus is for the sake of Avos Yisrael, especially the way the Baal Shem Tov explained it, that they totally give up their lives for the love of another Yid. By Deza Poilim Gam L'Mayla, through having the love for another Yid down here, we affect in a similar vein above. B'mida Keneged Mida, measure for measure, she is Gala, and in the Hafti Askom Amar Havaya, it should become revealed that what it says, that I have loved you, Havai. In other words, by us having a love for a Yid, we reveal and we cause that Hashem should have a love for a Yid. Like the Mizritcher Maggid explains at the beginning of his two Sfar, known as that the love of Hashem for the Yidden is like a father for his son. That it's analogous to a father that constricts himself, limits himself, constrains himself for his young child. Therefore, one does not wait until the child grows up, because since the father is willing to constrict himself for his son, so he doesn't say, okay, when the child is old enough and smart enough, then I'll have a relationship with him. But now I can't. But that's not the way a father's relationship is with his child. He's willing to put himself aside and constrict himself to be able to do so. Al Kvar Achshav, line 27, already now, he already reveals himself to his child appropriate to the state and situation of the child's mind and capabilities and what he's able to handle. From this also understood concerning the true and complete geula in a total perfection. Top of the last page, Yud Gimel. We do not have to wait, like it says before. In other words, people want to say the geula can't come yet. Why? Because Yidden are not ready. A father doesn't wait for the child to grow up. The same thing the Rebbe is looking for the positive and to explain it in a positive way. Hashem is not going to wait for us to grow up, to mature, to get out of all whatever things are blocking the geula from coming. Immediately they'll be redeemed. It came through Mashiach, Melech and Beis David, the king from the house of David. He'll fight the wars of Hashem and he'll be victorious. We give him the Beis Hamikdash from Koimah, he built the Beis Hamikdash in his place. He will gather the scattered Yidden. And the earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, like the waters covers the sea.